Welcome to the Naperville Eldercare channel, brought to you by Kathy Wetters and the good folks of Right at Home of Chicago's southwest suburbs. Today's guest is Mr. Arthur Miller, President of Capital Preservation Strategies.
Well, welcome back to the Naperville Eldercare channel. We have today with us Arthur Miller from Capital Preservation Strategies. I want to make sure I get that right.
That's right.
What is the focus of your practice, Art?
Well, Kathy, our practice for the last almost 30 years has been on the preservation of income, capital, and really assets for our clients. And we want to make sure that as they're nearing retirement age, that they have sufficient assets and income to sustain them throughout a retirement.
We are in our industry in home care. We are fascinated by all the tools and experts out there like yourself that can advise families so that they can do that long-term planning for care and their retirement years. Why are so many people aren't having to work, or it feels like they're working longer before they retire? Is there a reason, or?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Kathy. What we found today is that when we look back under traditional retirement planning, they used to talk about the three-legged retirement stool.
Yes.
You'd have your Social Security, you'd have your pensions, and you'd have your savings. Well, all that has changed today. Number one, your pensions have pretty much disappeared. If you go back to the 1980s, you have most of corporate America, medium-sized companies and larger, had pensions. Today, that number is down to below 15%.
Goodness
And
gracious.
it's constantly decreasing. What happened was in the late 1970s, our buddies in Wall Street came calling to corporate America. They were knocking on their door.
Yes,
They said,
yes.
hey, have we got a great idea for
Yes.
you? These pension plans are very expensive. You're taking all the risk and investing. Why not throw that on the back of the employees? Put the onus on them, and we'll develop these plans. They won't be, and pension plans were called defined benefit, where they
Yes.
have to define a benefit. So when you retired, normally it was in those days age 65,
Yes.
we'd give you a monthly pension for as long as you lived.
Right.
And that could be very expensive, particularly in bad economic years, when a corporation's got to put more money in to fund that benefit.
Yes.
So what corporate America, or what Wall Street said to corporate America, was, listen, let's let the employees do all the investing. All we're going to define is the amount that they can put in each year. Okay, so
right.
it's the contribution. So that's like your 401k, your 403b. If you work for the city, it's a 457 plan, or even your IRAs or your SEPs. As far as how much money they have when they retire, maybe it'll be more, maybe it'll be less. But it's no sweat of your back as the employer. It's all the employee's responsibility. So these plans have taken over. So, as you may know, we've had really 4 negative years in the last 15.
Yes.
In other words, 2000, 2001, 2002, and the worst year was 2008. Because of that, we saw all these articles in the financial press that said your 401k is now a 201k.
It's falling.
It's gone down by half. And if you look back even over the last 15 years, people have only made, if you look at the broad-based indexes like the Standard & Poor's, they've only made about 0.25% a year on an average. And it looks like, because we've had a couple of very good years the last few, that another correction may be heading our way. So people have got to be very careful with their savings and develop not only a good offense, but a good defense. So, one, we've got the pensions that have disappeared. Two, we've got the fact that Social Security has been, used to be, when the Roosevelt administration created it, it was just supposed to give people a leg up.
Right. Right.
But now people are more reliant on it because that guaranteed income from pensions almost no longer exists. People are living longer. People used to live to age 70 or 65. In fact, when Roosevelt's administration created Social Security, people only lived to age 65.
And boy, has that changed. Yeah.
I'll say, so they almost didn't even have to pay off. So right now, when you have the average ages of life expectancy being somewhere between 82 and 85, it's a lot longer. And the fastest growing segment of the population, as you may know, is age 100.
Yes.
So we're living a lot longer.
Yes.
So that's why, to get back to your question, people are having to work longer. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have pensions. Social Security is becoming more of their main need for guaranteed income. And also, they haven't saved enough because of the economy hasn't cooperated.
And people that are on the younger end, maybe the Gen Xers and the
Right.
millennials, they don't have any faith that they're going to have any Social Security, right?
Yeah, you know, and I
Yeah.
get that. I get that question a lot. I really believe Social Security will never disappear. It has had problems, starting with the Reagan administration and then with the Clinton administration.
Mm-hmm.
Their advisors told them that Social Security was in trouble. So both those administrations broke a promise that FDR made to the American public, and that was we'd never tax your Social Security benefits.
Right.
But because Social Security was paying out more than it was taking in, because when Roosevelt created it, or his administration created it, they never expected us, the baby boomers.
Right, and boy, that changed the whole thing.
You said it changed the whole picture. So
Mhm.
in those days, there were more people paying in than
Mhm.
taking out. It's gone 180 degrees now. So now we've got to have either people got to have more children to support it, okay, or we've got to find ways to secure it. So right now, the 3 or 4 proposals before Congress are thinking about taxing more higher level incomes. Right now, if you earn more than 118.5, they don't tax that. But now they're thinking of taxing incomes up to
Maybe.
like 150, 200, and 250. They're also thinking about taxing or eliminating Social Security if you have certain amount of savings.
Yes.
They're also thinking about eliminating the cost of living adjustment. This year there wasn't one.
In 2016, there
Correct.
wasn't one.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's based on the consumer price index, based on wage inflation. So nobody got raises over the last 2 Octobers, so they didn't give a cost of living adjustment. But they're thinking about perhaps reducing it permanently. So those are some of the things they're doing to try and keep Social Security going.
Right. Now, right now, what can people do? We can't change the past, obviously, but going forward, what can we do to secure a retirement?
Well, that's a good question. You know, I was just interviewed recently on WGN, and they asked me that because the interviewer, the radio host, had just put a couple of kids through college.
Yes.
So he said, Art, I said, you will need to pay yourself first. He said, that's a great idea. I said, you need to carve out a certain amount of, money from your paycheck each week or every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I would have loved to have done that, but I'm sure like a lot of people, I put a couple kids through college. He said,
Yes.
now they're finishing. If you are in that situation, you probably now have a little bit more cash flow, and you need to think about taking as much of that as you can and putting it away on a regular basis.
Now, what do you see as some of the common mistakes people make with an IRA or a 401k or a 403b going in current times?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. There are a couple. Some of the mistakes they make are being unevenly balanced.
Oh, okay.
And because most of the statements people get from brokers will show you like a pie chart.
Yes.
And you have X here, Y here, Z there, and it looks like you're pretty well diversified. But many of these large funds today are overlapping. You're not getting the diversification that you used to get.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing they need to think about is age-weighted investing.
Age-weighted investing.
Yes, so in other words, back in the late 50s, there was a University of Chicago economist named Harry Markowitz. And Markowitz won the Pulitzer Prize for asset allocation theory, which said that basically as we age, we become more conservative. And to try and make portfolios more conservative, the more components you have in there that move in different directions, the more it balances it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the side theories that came out of it was something called the rule of 100. So basically you subtract your age from 100, and that's the most you should keep at risk or in growth. So if you're age 60, you subtract 60 from 100, and no more than 40% of your portfolio, your 401k, your 403b, your IRA, should be in growth.
So it shrinks as you get older. the
That's
risk
right.
amount should shrink.
Exactly, right. So as we get older, we tend to become more conservative and want more in preservation and less in growth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The economy in the last, say, 4 years seems to be improving some. Do we have any reason to have confidence in the market? I know we hear a lot of varied news on the topic of the markets.
Yeah, I think overall you should have confidence in it, but I think you have to look at it as a cyclical beast. And every 6 or 7 years we have some type of correction. And we've had 3-4 years that were very good, one flat year, and another year or two that were good as well. It appears, and there are just as many economists that support what I'm about to tell you as will tell you just the opposite. But I sincerely believe that people need to be prepared for an upcoming correction. That's why I say it's very important to have not only a strong offense, but a strong defense. And if you balance those two based on your age, you'll be prepared for all types of economies.
I, in a prior career, was in a job that was tied to the energy field, and so as my husband and I have gotten now in almost 60, just quite, not quite. Kind of concerned all that money we have sunk in the energy field in the way of investments.
Yeah, that's not uncommon, Kathy. And you know what happened with Enron?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
Yep.
and a number of industries. When an industry does well, it looks very good. The problem is that each industry has ups and downs.
Yes.
And so that's once again why more diversification and more balance is important. So, we have clients that may have come from large Illinois corporations. Maybe they worked for a Walgreens or an Abbott, and they have a lot of company stock. But as they start to near retirement, when they get over 50, we do encourage them to think about looking at diversification.
That's
balance.
it makes perfect sense in hindsight, thinking about it. So, we're getting back to Social Security again. So you have reason to believe that it's going to stay solvent in some form.
Yeah, I mean, they're also talking about, solvency is the main issue. So they're talking about maybe not paying 100% of benefits. It might go down to 90, 80, 85. We're not sure. So, and also if the population curve changes where the millennials have more children, it's really a pay-as-you-go system. So the one thing that can really help it is having more people contributing to it.
Right. I know I have some older siblings and first cousins and whatnot and friends, and as they get to their early 60s, they have this kind of age-old question: should I retire at 62? Should I retire at 65? When should the best time to start drawing your Social Security?
Okay.
That question comes up all the time.
And that's a very good question. Statistically, around the country, most people take it early at 62. That's the first time you can take it unless you're disabled. Now, my advice, generally speaking, and you have to look at this in each person's individual or each couple's situation, is to wait to 70.
70, okay.
Now, not everybody can afford to do that. Some people have health issues. Some people can't keep working. But if you can, and you can afford to, you will receive, depending on your age, between age 66 and age 70, an 8% credit each year.
Really?
Yes. So if you have maybe a $2,200 benefit at age 66, you may have a $2,500 or $2,600 benefit by the time you're 70. Now,
interesting.
The question I get as a follow-up to that is, Art, how long does it take to make up that difference? Because I'm giving up 4 years of income.
Correct.
Right. So it's usually about 12 years.
12 years.
So if you're going to live to age 82, and if you're in decent health, most of us will make it at that point,
hopefully.
You'll be making, a gain from that point forward.
Excellent point. Well, I was just reading local political issues. Some folks up in one of the counties to the north paid their taxes in $1 bills this week.
Really?
So, and we all are concerned about taxes and inflation, and is that going to have a negative effect on us as on retirees? How our income is, can we afford to live in these counties with these high taxations once we retire? That's a concern many have.
It is, and I think negative is the operative word. It's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And what we don't know is whether taxes are going up or they're going down. But right now, they're still at historic lows. So during the Obama administration, they pretty much kept them very similar to what they were during the Bush administration, and that administration brought them to historic lows. So most of the financial pundits out there, and I agree, think that at some point they're going to be raised. So where we've been told for years that your taxes are going down during retirement, it may be just the opposite, which suggests that you need more advanced planning because if you have a retirement plan, whether it's an IRA, a 401k, 403b, they mandate at certain ages, most of them 70 and a half, that you begin taking withdrawals. So if you're working and you have a 401k, you can wait till you're finished working a year after you retire to start taking that money out.
Yes, many of us remember I know we were trying purchasing our first house, and the inflation was just out of control, and that was the world of adjustable rate mortgages, and whatnot. So we have had some really good run here of low taxation.
Absolutely.
On that. Why did the Obama administration, including the Government Accounting Office, recommend people acquire an annuity when the financial press folks said that was not a good idea? It was, gave us some negative reviews on that.
Well, that's a good question. The Government Accounting Office does a lot of studies. And one of the studies they did recently, going back a couple of years, was what do people need to think about to make sure they're not running out of money, particularly as we've had some very challenging economies. And they had 4 or 5 suggestions. One of them was that if you have a choice, taking a pension from your company or taking it as a lump sum, even though myself and my colleagues might tell you we can do better with the lump sum, there is a very good reason for taking the pension because it's guaranteed income. So that's another reason they suggested an annuity. And when the type that they're talking about are the old plain vanilla kind that companies used to use when they had these defined benefit plans. It provides a benefit for as long as you or you and a spouse will live. So it's another leg in the old financial stool that creates an income that you can't outlive.
Now, I know some of the families that we meet with and the experts in the senior provider community we talk to, they'll emphasize the importance of talking about planning for long-term care, planning, estate planning and all that, and annuities will come up as can be a tool to think about, important thing when you're planning for what might happen to you health-wise going forward.
Exactly. And that world, particularly in annuities, has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. So when you're doing your retirement planning and estate planning, once again, it's another sort of solid rock. And I'm talking about the type now that have guaranteed principal. They're called fixed annuities.
Fixed annuities.
So they either have a guaranteed rate of interest for an X number of years, or you have some choices in there each year that are linked to certain market indexes with no risk to your principal. So you share in the gains, you don't get them all. Also, there are special types of annuities that the state permits with certain guidelines that allow you to circumvent nursing home payments. But that has to be looked at very carefully. Not every annuity qualifies.
Oh, so you really need to get someone to advise you that's very knowledgeable of
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Either an attorney, an eldercare attorney who's familiar with the state rules in Illinois, and or an advisor who specializes in that field.
Excellent. Now you're located in the city,
Well, in downtown Highland Park.
Downtown Highland Park. Yes. Okay. And you guys have been in business a lot.
Just about 30 years.
That's a long, long time.
It is a long time.
You were just a small child when you started.
Yeah, just a baby.
Now, and you have a website. Do you recall?
Yeah, it's www.cp, C as in cat, P as in Paul, strategies.net.
Excellent, excellent. If someone wants to call you, what's a good phone number to reach you at?
That's 847-433-1220.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming today, and we will be posting this video on Naperville Eldercare channel, and you have a directory listing. So if anyone wants more information about you, they can. There'll be a little snippet of your overall business services that you offer on there. So thanks again so much.
My pleasure, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye-bye.